Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life chose us. Thank you to Revyz for backing us up and making the Jira Life possible.
No, we didn't crash StreamYard, but we are missing our guest.
We've been doing this for over 2 years now, Alex. I'm surprised we have not had this situation come up before.
Right? Well, we got a plan B. So today's topic is and will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, conversation with Sherif. But if he's not here to defend Rovo, I'm just going to trash talk Rovo for the next 50 minutes.
So I'm basically saying right now, Sherif, if you can hear the sound of my voice, come on now before Alex just completely messes it up and we have to become the Monday.com life by next week.
Well, okay, so Rovo, it's like, what the heck? I'm trying to learn and figure out how to use Rovo, and I am fairly well versed in Jira and the Atlassian tools, and I, for the life of me, can't figure out where the damn button to even get into Rovo is. Like, I see the Rovo chat in some instances, but not the ones that I have. And that Atlassian 1 thing, that's got to get updated. 2, they need to put Rovo naturally where it should go based on the features that it can do. And then 3, I think you're going to need a couple of PhDs to use this Rovo thing. But we'll get into each one of them. What do you guys think about Rovo? Have you been using Rovo yet?
I have not, because none of the cloud, one of the cloud instances I have has used it. I'm just not on that instance a whole lot. The ones I'm on pretty regularly doesn't have Rovo.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, a lot of the folks that I'm talking to is, do they even want Rovo on? I have not heard a single team yet talk about, yeah, we're excited to connect Rovo with all of our tools and have it look at all of our data. What are you guys hearing from the streets?
So I've heard something about the same thing, which is why I think Atlassian is doing the smart thing by kind of opening it up and allowing for the MCP servers to have you connect to whatever LLM you want. It doesn't have to be ChatGPT, which Atlassian uses. It could be Claude. It could be, it's Claude right now in the beta. But it could be whichever one later on. And Sherif is going to tell me how wrong I am or how right I am.
As soon as his internet catches up to us.
Yes, as soon as his internet catches up to us.
I thought this was going to be the show where we... Hi, Sherif.
Has the internet caught off to you all?
It has.
Yes.
Hey!
That is the coolest background I've ever seen in my life.
How are you, Robert? Alex,
wait, I see
Rodney?
a dragon shirt. I see one of the dragon shirts, and that is kind of cool.
Sherif,
So I'm missing one of my favorites, the original portfolio shirt that says something like "Plan Ahead," but they had to cut ahead in half because they didn't plan ahead.
So Sherif, you missed the intro. So basically, we're gonna pivot, and we were gonna say, you know what, we're just gonna trash talk on Rovo if Sherif doesn't show up. So,
I love it.
Now that you've shown up,
4 minutes.
Thank you for
I
showing up, Sherif. You just made my job safe. And by the way, speaking of making our job safe, I'm going to enter in thank you to Revyz, our sponsor, for backing us up and giving us confidence. And with that, I am going to be off to
Neverland.
Neverland.
All right, Sherif, welcome. It's been a year and 2 months that we've been trying to get you on here. I am glad we finally made it happen.
Has it really been 1 year and 2 months? It sounds like you're counting.
Team 24, yeah. I was thinking about that earlier today. We've been trying to get this to happen for so long. I think I even talked to you about Team 24 Europe saying, hey, we really need to get this going.
I talked to him at the awards dinner at Team 24 when he's sitting next to me, and he's like, mate, tell me about this podcast thing you're doing.
Well, all right. So now you've set this bar over here now. So now we need to kind of like lower the expectations for your listeners.
No. This is nothing but great news. I will also say that it was very pleasant that you were the last person that I saw at Team 25 this year. Because on my way out, you were just right there with Jens, just hanging out, and got to chat a little.
How good was it to hang out outside in the sun this year?
Right?
It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. The weather was beautiful. You could take a break in between sessions. Yeah, it was great. It was great to see you there as well. It was awesome.
And I get to do this every day because I live in Anaheim.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, and you had a crazy barbecue apparently just before the event. Is that right?
Yeah, it was. And apparently I got in trouble for not inviting everybody. I didn't know we were supposed to invite Atlassians.
You don't want to do that because there's too many of them.
I know. That's what I was going to say. I wasn't know that I was allowed to invite Atlassians, but now I know for next year.
Yeah.
We're having a whole taco bar, so be ready for tacos.
Oh, nice. I like Mexican food in Australia. I'm sure you've both heard is disastrous is probably the best word to describe it. It's not great. So
well, you'll get Mexican food from real Mexicans, so
yeah.
You
You'll find all the Aussies that work at Atlassian every time they're in the US.
Yeah,
they just eat Mexican food every day, pretty much, to make up for it.
There's an episode of The Big Bang Theory where they go out for Indian food, and Raj is like, "You guys ever consider that? For me, it's just food." That's how I feel about when people are talking about Mexican food. I'm like, guys, it's literally just food for me because it's what I eat every day. I don't classify my food as Mexican. But Sherif, thank you so much for being here. We wanted to talk Rovo and see where you guys are all at with that. And we were trash talking a little bit because we haven't, as academically advanced as Rodney and I are in the Jira space, getting our hands on Rovo has been rather tricky.
Yeah. Sean's reminded me that the release team instance has it, but I'm only on there for work, which should be more, but I'm more often on client Jira instances than that one. So it's like, well, it has it, but
let me the rollouts we're rolling out a lot in the premium and enterprise editions. That's going really well. If you need some other instances turned on, I'm sure if you let me know, I can find someone that can turn it on.
You can find someone. I will tell you, Sherif, that is so true. Your ability to find someone is so well put because I
skill. I don't have anything else.
Well, I laugh, but I was talking to somebody. I got a team that's moving over to the cloud, and they're like, I don't like this button. I'm like, well, it's the cloud. You what you see is what you get. And they're like, no, we're gonna let Atlassian know they gotta change this. And I'm like, you don't have that kind of power. and I'm like, but let me tell you a story about a time where I didn't like an importer.
I remember you gave me an earful about those importers. Yeah, did we get that issue addressed?
Yeah. No, I like to tell people that little disclaimer that that's me. That was me.
So
I helped with one thing. I'll take it. I help with one.
As content creators, it is scary how often we complain about something in Jira, in Confluence, or whatever, and then there's a fix for it like a few weeks later, and we're like, okay, I didn't mean necessarily that, but thank you.
I just remember. Yeah, just sure. I got a message from Sherif. He's like, "Hey, mate, have you talked to somebody at Atlassian about this?" I'm like, "I didn't know I could." A couple minutes later, it's fixed.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But yes, what do you want to geek out on Rovo? Tell me.
So I mainly the vision. So I see it as what everybody's the marketing material you guys all have on a hey, you're gonna be able to have a meeting. That Loom grabs it from the meeting and makes the Confluence page. Any of those action items become Jira tickets, right? When do we get that? Like, is that out? Like, can somebody prototype that already, or is that still like a May 4th, 2026 thing?
Loom AI meetings is I use it every day. So I'll need to double check on you if that one's rolled out or not. But it's so I was in a meeting yesterday. I was in too many meetings yesterday. But yeah, it'll do the notes, the action items page. You get notified on it and that kind of stuff. That specific feature is if it's not
promised and coming, right?
Look, I'm going to do something very Atlassian and look up the Atlassian project ticket and see if I can find it for you. And that's usually how I get a pretty good proxy of how close it is to shipping.
Okay. Well, that's not getting anybody fired either, but yeah.
Yeah. But I can get you the details on that one. That's Loom meetings, and that'll honestly, I'll be surprised if that's going on for a few more months. But I would assume that's coming out pretty soon because we use it quite a bit internally.
Awesome.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, the GA is. I'm
soon?
going to try to find a legal safe term and say coming in the next few weeks, hopefully.
Impending.
And I want to find few for you. That's
when we met with Jensen, we told her, like, blink once if yes, blink twice for no.
It looks like it's not far off at all. So
awesome.
We use it a lot internally. So that one.
Yeah, because I've been trying to come up with a good demo, right? Because a lot of people start seeing the Rovo chat in there, and the biggest question I get is like, Alex, what's this Rovo chat? I'm like, don't worry about it just yet. I'm like, don't worry about it yet. We're not ready for prime time.
Now that demo, Alex. So here's the nuance of like our complicated brand stuff that we're trying to simplify. That's Loom AI, which is not Rovo AI. Mm-hmm. So Loom, if you for your viewers' context, was an acquisition a few years ago, and they had their own AI solution, and we've been slowly migrating their AI platform to the central Atlassian AI platform, so it can be the same thing and the same thing administered by everyone, the same data residency settings and all that kind of stuff. That's slowly happening. But Rovo is in Jira, Confluence, soon Bitbucket, etc., Jira Service Management, and so forth. That's different to Loom AI. But as of recently, they use the same backends, so it's pretty close to be the same thing. But Rovo, yes, Rovo mostly Jira, Confluence, and Jira Service Management today. If you want good demos, I would go straight into. It really depends on what they're after, but if you go back to your first question on like the vision of Rovo and what it is, and I think there's like roughly 3 key ingredients for teams making the most of AI. And like these are very loosely defined ingredients, but one is the knowledge, right? Like for a lot of existing customers, there might be Confluence only, but for a lot of customers that have been cloud native, there's knowledge in like 10 different SaaS tools, Google Docs and Word, Excel, and all that kind of stuff, and all that, Slack and Teams. And AI, the old saying is, AI is only as good as the data that you have. It's true. That's as much context as it's relevant to it is useful. And then the second thing is being able to take that knowledge and then apply it in some way. Now, we'll apply that knowledge in specific features in our portfolio, but then a lot of people can use AI chat to use that knowledge to. Most people start with just basic question and answer use cases. Like they'll ask a question and get an answer. And so they'll be like, what is the procedure for, IT teams would be like, what's the procedure for turning off this system? And someone happened to write a run book somewhere in SharePoint or in Confluence. And so they can, pulls that up for them or whatever.
But that's what's separating us then from Atlassian Intelligence from Rovo, right? Because Atlassian Intelligence, when you ask it a question in Confluence, the context is self-contained within the product.
Yeah. So that's actually a Rovo feature. It's not Atlassian Intelligence. It's super complicated.
You guys need to really work on your branding.
Don't worry, we're working on. I didn't say it here, but we're trying to simplify the branding for everyone.
I've heard chatter. I've heard.
And so you'll notice that feature is still beta. And because the idea behind that was to test that out with customers and then work out if that's going to be a Rovo capability or not. It doesn't matter anymore because Rovo is available to everyone. So that's available there. But yeah, the question and answer there is the first most basic use case. And most people's AI maturity kind of starts with that. I typed in a question, I got an answer. And the next level of maturity is they start to go, wait, AI can do stuff for me. Like it's this light bulb moment of like, wait, it can generate a draft blog post. It can generate a draft spec. Or wait, it could generate a proposal for me for this client. And I can mix and match the data sources I've connected to get it to use that to generate the content. I think it's another light bulb kind of moment most people have of like, oh, it's not just question answers. I can try to get it to do some work for me. And so, very common people will outsource tasks to like chat of like basic stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Then the third most complicated step, or the third ingredient really, is after you get a few of those and you find some repetitive workflows. This is where we have a huge lucky advantage with automation in Jira and Confluence and with Jira workflows. People can package that instruction and that knowledge and give specific tools to the AI, like post a comment to Salesforce or write to Slack or update this Jira ticket. And then they wrap that and we call that an agent. and they can start to automate these workflows at a repetitive basis. And so like those are the rough 3 steps. And so you'll see Rovo try to touch each of the steps, and we're moving at different speeds at each step. Obviously, the most obvious use case for very big enterprise customers when they connect all the data, or even actually SMBs, not really big customers, it's like, oh, wait, I kind of get enterprise search capabilities. Like, oh, I can search across all my apps. And you're like, yeah, that's a byproduct of connecting all your information so the AI can use it. And so
our people are like, again, blink once, yes or no, right? But I can't imagine a lot of companies want to connect to other tools for privacy concerns. Like how much work are you guys having to do from the privacy aspect of it? Or like, trust us, please. You're gonna want this.
It is not a trivial task by any means. It's a significant task. Obviously, the bigger the company, the more significant of a process it is to connect those tools. Now, for us, we're kind of lucky, and we have a lot of trusted tools people are already happy to connect to Atlassian. For example, Jira and GitHub is a super popular combination. People already connect GitHub to Jira like lots of times.
Right, yeah.
And then you've got Slack is huge. Jira, Confluence, Slack, and Microsoft Teams is even bigger, right? So the good news is for some vendors already that I just plug it to Atlassian Stack anyway. Atlassian Stack's fairly open, and I plug it in. Then they get to like, all of my Google Workspace or my SharePoint site or my Office 365. That's probably where it goes through some central IT department for a big company, and that's a long process. And we have, we can help them do due diligence and fill out all the paperwork and all that stuff, and meet their security requirements and all that stuff. Smaller customers, obviously less concerned, but the concern is still valid and important for them. Like, it's their data and it's their IP, so it's super critical that we get this right and they get it right for them. So yeah, you're right. It's not a trivial step. That's someone decides one day to go and I'm going to slurp in all my data from whatever it is, but it is it's less of a friction when it's already close proximity to the apps that they already use with Atlassian. So the GitHub is the example, or Microsoft Teams. I already use it for JSM virtual agents. So I already connect, Slack and Teams for that stuff. So, that stuff kind of makes a lot more sense. So the friction bar is much lower to that.
I mean, I know that's not only been a friction to Rovo, but cloud in general. I used to work for a gaming company who rhymed with lizard. And not saying them exactly, but kind of get my point. And they're so leak averse. Every all hands meeting we had, it had like your username watermarked in the show. So if you leaked anything, they know exactly who it was. And there are many reasons we never migrated that instance to cloud. Some of them were built-in technical debt that we'd have to completely re-engineer all that. But one of the reasons that was stated was, and again, this could have changed since then. I'm no longer with this organization. Atlassian is building out Atlassian Cloud, but they're also building out Atlassian Intelligence. And how do we know what data is being used or whatnot? That privacy concern. Because again, they are so leak adverse. They don't want anything about their games being released unless it's done purposefully.
Yeah, and you're spot on. Heaps of customers feel like that, and we try for a lot of our features. We have a transparency guide where it shows how the features are built and all that stuff. We've got we share architecture models with customers or whatever it is they need to try to eliminate those concerns. We don't train any AI models on the customer's data. Like, in fact, it's kind of seems like a dumb thing to say because we can't really do that. Because when you train a model, training a model on data needs you can't respect permissions, right? So when you look at Jira and Alex looks at Jira, you might see different fields and you might see different values, and you're like, well, that's actually unique to you. And so doing this at scale for every SaaS vendor, or Salesforce or ServiceNow, or pick any vendor, respecting permissions for each vendor is a massive effort. So we've got a huge set of teams working on every vendor's connectors, working on the permissions that are specific to that vendor, all that kind of stuff. So it's not a non-trivial investment. It's a really big investment.
But the companies that buy in, those are the ones that are going to exceed in the future, because the amount of help and assistance that again from that vision of Rovo, I don't see any of your other competitors doing that.
No. Look, I love to use the analogy like you guys have a new person start tomorrow in the Jira Life team, right? Like someone joins you tomorrow, like a junior person joins you tomorrow, and you're like, how do you make them productive? And like the first thing you probably do is like, all right, let me get you access to these tools. So you're like, whatever tools you guys use to plan the show and whatever, and you give them access to the tools. All right, check. We kind of need to do the same thing with these new virtual teammates of ours. All right, cool, check. And then the next thing you do is, I need to give you permission to be able to do some stuff in those tools because you might get access to read, but you might need. I'm happy for you to write, the show notes, and I'm happy for you to do a couple of other things, and you'll give them access to that. Check. And then to get them kicked off and effective, you'll probably write some instructions on what you expect them to do, right? Like, I expect you to do this every week. I'd like you to do this, etc. What are you doing there? You're just kind of writing your instructions, your procedures, your prompt for the human being to help them on board. It's actually no different with AI. It's fascinating. You're like, it's like if you think of it as a virtual teammate or a set of virtual teammates, you kind of need the same attributes of making them successful. Knowledge, tools to do their job, and instructions. And then oversight. You'd monitor them and see how they're going and give them feedback, and you tweak them when they do something wrong, or encourage them when they do something right. Always funny when you encourage AI, by the way. It's pretty entertaining. But yeah.
We got a question here.
This is Brian Guppy, by the way, in case you don't recognize the account.
Come on, that's Brian's avatar from everywhere. Can you talk about
Brian says that you two have known each other since like 2007, like baby Sherif.
Dude, we found we tested this out, me and Brian last team. We searched my Gmail to find the earliest email from Brian, and it was I want to say 08, actually. It may not be 09. I can't remember. Yeah. And it was like, hey, we should
directly.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Because I missed hey, Brian, how are you? Good to see you, mate.
What up? How you doing?
Good. You've been well?
I hope everybody really enjoys my tag on screen.
First punching Remy's motives.
Yeah. But yeah, I think one of the things that customers don't understand is that like you guys, like companies do not wish to hold on to data that they don't need, and there's a big reason for that. Man. Yeah, in terms of risk and how that works for you guys. I mean, Atlassian could keep holding on to every piece of data that somebody does, minus the things you're already holding on to, but you don't want exposure to all of that. Because everybody's going to get hacked one day.
Yeah, the simple answer is more fine-grained controls for data retention policies. It sounds simple, but the reality is it's a lot of engineering work to pull that off. So, for example, last few months we added the ability to exclude specific kinds of content from Google Drive and SharePoint, etc. We have a team right now working on window retention periods. So only store the last X months of data, all that kind of stuff. And that's really important for enterprises. Like they need that control, and they need to decide. And the policies are different by data source. Like, I talked to a customer the other day, and like how they think and treat data in GitHub is very different to how they think and treat data in SharePoint.
Yeah,
like different level of concern, different level of stakeholders internally. And so we're implementing more and more granular policies, but some of that's happening already. And then the second part is, oh man, I don't want to make this sound like a product plug. Guard, Atlassian Guard. Let's say it without saying the product. Second part is being able to monitor what people are doing with their data, so enterprises can do that. However, businesses choose to do that. It's up to them. But that's why we're investing in these tools, right? Guard becomes even more important in a world of AI, because there's more and more data that is being used for different use cases, which is a good thing generally, more productivity for customers. But we need to make sure that we're making it's meeting all the expectations of security and teams.
How does Rovo and AI handle bad words?
Which word? Sorry.
How does it handle any bad words? Given that Atlassian is an Australian company and you guys like...
how does it handle bad words? You'll have to just ask it, I guess.
I asked seriously because so if you go to Google, right, and you type in a question now, Gemini will give you its answer first, and then you get the Google search, right?
Yep.
However, if you cuss out in the search, then you just get the search results. Gemini goes, nope, we're not querying this.
Yeah. We have it honestly, just like all our apps today have an acceptable use policy. We have the same policy and a central ethical prompt filtering, usage policy filtering in central AI, like in the platform layer. That happens there as well. We've actually spoken to a few customers that actually want to be able to tweak that and change that for their own specific things. So that's something we might look at. We haven't roadmapped yet, but it seems logical that that's something that we probably need to do at some point.
Try to put in a bad word into a story before, so maybe I should try.
Yeah, but it does. It does things like try to prevent.
Alex, there's a lot of developers cussing a lot in Jira tickets.
I've never seen it.
Consider yourself lucky.
Really?
Wow. I gotta try it now.
Now, I think the funniest thing I've seen, and I would love to see how this interacts with Rovo, is a previous software org, VMware.
Just name dropping over here.
Yeah, that one he's fine naming.
I'm fine naming them. They're not litigious. But one of their products, I was help managing their Bitbucket for, and we just curious one day. It was a slow day. We decided to search the repository to see if anyone had put any bad words in like git commit or anything. No, we have found a full list in the code that it checks against when it's like generating CAPTCHA and any sort of authentication. So it checks not to include any of these strings in those words.
I got you beat. I worked at an aerospace company whose planes keep falling out of the sky. And
they are litigious and also maybe assassins.
No, not only that, they're going after whistleblowers. I'm kind of scared.
So we're not going to mention them by name.
We're just saying that that it may be time for MCB to open up a spot on his plane for Alex.
But anyway, we had a list. We had like a book of every like bad word that you could possibly have that went through Outlook through Exchange and to flag for emails. But it was like a book. It was like 1,000, 2,000 words in there. I was like, whoa, there was words in there.
I would love to see how Rovo would manage that list when it's like, especially with the new Rovo dev. It comes across that in the repository and goes, okay now.
You remind me of a story, Rodney, this must be at least 13 years ago. It's probably 15 years ago. Early Confluence days, we used to I introduced a policy where our product managers used to do like support on rotation. And it was such a good thing. And we still do it in pockets, I think. But I was on support like in my first few years in Atlassian doing a ticket rotation. And we had one of the tickets I had was someone raising a ticket that the CAPTCHA words was an offensive word. And we were like, wait, what do we do here? Because this is like some library that we use. And you're like, and so we had to go work out and find a solution for that and all that stuff. And that was 15 years ago. But it was a bit of a chuckle because you're like, wait, we didn't expect this to happen from a CAPTCHA. But it was pretty entertaining.
So one of the questions that I have is what does the developer story look like in terms of giving developers the more ability to use Rovo in more ways? Like, for example, can I connect Rovo, give Rovo access to a data source that I have that I want Rovo to include when it's thinking about things? And some of that, and how we continue to see that, so the developers can really leverage the incredible power of the knowledge graph.
Yeah. So today you can give Rovo access to data that is behind your own data set that's arbitrary data set. Obviously permissions and all that was now up to you to control. Mm-hmm. That's available today as part of the search kind of offering. We haven't for things like specific agents, we're about to release the ability to upload, give agents specific files, like you just want to upload without connecting a full data set. So you can do that in chat. Well, I'm pretty sure that's rolled out. You can, in chat, you can give it a specific file and say for this CSV data set, I would like you to do this. etc. But we don't have that yet for agents, so that's coming pretty soon there as well. And so that kind of gives them a little bit more of a very fine-grained controlled on a very specific use case. For this file, I want you to make sure you do this. Obviously, the more you narrow, if you're after a very specific instruction from an agent or a prompt to do something, the more you narrow the data sources, the better. If you're after more an exploratory kind of use case of like, or help me work this out or whatever, the wider the use case, the wider the data sources, the better. So it's really depending on how the developer, what the scenario is they're trying to do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. That's I love that. I think, and I mean, the thing I love about Rovo Dev Agent is it is, I will say, probably it's the closest we've gotten so far to my complaint that I had before, which is like, why can't I have Rovo build Rovo agents for me?
Yeah, we have a baby step, and I should share with you some of the agent prompts I've tried to create. So as in, we have a natural language to agent creation, which is like, what do you want to create? And it tries to go through that. And then I also created an agent internally for some teams that was like an agent suggest. I mean, this sounds so meta. An agent suggest an agent. And so you go in and you type in your name or the person's name, and then it kind of looks at, okay, what has that person done recently? Like, what kind of issues have they worked on? Work items have they worked on? Sorry.
I called Dave last week so many times saying issues. I was like, I almost corrected him every time.
Oh, Dave's got more Jira in his blood than I have. So like he's worked on Jira for longer. So it's going to be harder for him to change that term. Yeah. And then
I have to catch myself. Yeah.
Then it suggests like based on these things, here's some possible use cases of agents that you can go and create. But yeah, like using AI to generate AI is like a fascinating meta topic that you often have these discussions about.
I've been watching. There's this episode of Silicon Valley from 10 years ago where Guilfoyle let AI into the source code, and then Richard's yelling at him like, "How can you unleash AI to go do its thing?" Because it shut everything down. Because it's like, well, it's supposed to build the perfect system type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you ever think? But now mixing with Tron, do you guys ever think like Rovo will be so good that like none of us are going to be relevant? Because it's just like an army of Robos just Rovo the heck out of the world.
No, I don't think so at all. Like I think, man, like I think every big technology wave that we go through these moments of like, oh, what's going to happen with these specific roles and these jobs? And I think there's always change in those jobs. Like there's compression in roles, there's expansion in roles, but then there's a whole bunch of new roles that open as a result of it. Like I'm having chats with, the Atlassian product management. Like I look after product management at Atlassian, and we're talking like, how does that role look different? And we're definitely saying, maybe we should have different archetypes of product managers that are quite different as a result of AI, because all of a sudden, people, regardless of role, can do more natural language to vibe coding, prototyping, and app building. You're like, okay, is that going to be a job in a company one day, like a full-time job, or is that going to be like something small, right? I think if you play that directly forward, yeah, we'll need to name that person. Like they'll have a job title. Is it a job title that we know today? No, I've seen many companies call it different things. I think that'll change drastically, right? But I think there's always these new roles that will open up as a result, like pre-internet and pre-fast bandwidth internet. Podcasting was not a thing; it didn't exist. Now it exists, right? Like, I think there'll be a bunch of new stuff, but also there will be change to existing stuff at all today. But if you bring it down to like, man, long term in AI is like 1 year, right? So it's hard to fast forward 5 years and have a discussion.
Yeah. I asked MCB like, hey, what are your 5-year goals? And he's like, man, I'm just trying to get to next week.
Yeah. Trying to get to next week.
We've never been able to tell that by how quickly things are released.
Yeah.
But like you go in the next year, there's going to be just a lot of repetitive tasks that people do today that they'll be able to slowly automate more and more. And they already do this today with automation. Like if you think about it, that's what automation does. What large language models have brought into something like automation is the ability to parse text and generate text. So it's just another node in automation. I'm using a lot of Atlassian terminology here, like for a lot of your Jira admin listeners, I'm sure understand. But so then you're like, okay, not only can it do things that are very deterministic in an automation rule, I could get it to also analyze texts, enforce a quality check at a specific gate, triage my tickets before I have to triage them because there's a lot of repetitive tasks there. It could, generate drafts for me. It could review things and find things for me that I didn't know I needed and all that stuff. So I think, it's a continuous incremental build on previous technology waves. Like I would argue that our AI would be nowhere near as powerful as it is today if it wasn't for automation and Jira workflow design, right? Like that just changes the game for what you can do with agents.
On a very similar topic, to breach this topic and the previous topic together, what do you think the shelf life on a Jira admin is going to be in the long term?
I've heard a few of your shows. You seem to ask this question a lot, Alex.
He has some concerns.
I don't have concerns. I am safe. Everybody else is asking me.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody else.
Fair. I've had a number of people ask me the same thing too. So it is a common question.
I was like, get better at helping critically design and architect Jira, and you'll be fine. If your job is to create statuses, I'd be worrying right now.
I would. That's a good. I would say, I'll take your sentence and change the bit at the end. Like, get better at designing and automating workflows for teams. And I use that generically because I think if you go, okay, Jira admin's complicated, by design, like it's a sophisticated workflow design tool, right? Like it's
because we don't talk about team managed projects here, even when Dave on the call.
I've heard a lot of your that's right.
Nobody told me that Dave was like the founding father of team managed projects.
Yeah,
it's more fun when you discover these things yourself, Alex.
Yeah. But the reality is the job to be done that people hire Confluence and Jira for, you can design a workflow and automate that regardless of the product administration. I would encourage those folks to be thinking about how I can help my users succeed. Like forget about configuring Jira fields and all that stuff for a while. Just park that for a second. Assuming that gets easier over time and all that stuff. Creating an agent and deploying it in a business workflow is not a trivial task. Right? Like it is a skill. Like we say, oh, you're creating agents easy with natural language. It is with natural language, but I can find you an agent that's like got four sentences, or an agent that's got 10 paragraphs configured in 4 automation workflows using some custom triggers and some custom actions with some tailored knowledge specifically that's being refined is giving you night and day different results, right? And so I would say, if you ask me, like just have a guess of what the role of the Jira and Confluence admins would evolve to. It's almost a continued role of what they do today, but a different how they do it. Instead of setting up the project and letting the teams use it, I think they're almost setting up the business workflow, which is still part of the project or the space or whatever it is.
But there's so many nuances with the business workflow. Like every single team and every single company is so unique.
That's the point.
Yes, which is the opportunity, right? Like people go to me, is it going to be like one agent or like 50 agents? And you're like, well, it's, like in my, like 100 agents, right? Like, I think the reality is people can't handle dealing with 100 to 200 different names. Like, it's like, I don't even know which agent to use, right? So AI is going to help solve that problem and we'll find the right agent. But the reality is, as you all know, every team takes a template and then tweaks it for their space or their project for their use case. You see that today, right? With field configuration, workflow configuration,
absolutely.
all that stuff, right?
And the more you try to force people into a box,
the
more that they will do whatever they can to move out of that box when it doesn't work for them.
Yes, but that's the beauty of Jira and Confluence is that a team can tweak a use case for their workspace of work, their project or their space. And so I'll give you an example. So one of the AI features a lot of people love is AI work breakdown in Jira. So you can give it like a high level thing and it suggests like the subtasks.
And that's true AI, not Rovo, right?
Well, we're rovoing it up soon, if that's a term. So we're gonna.
That's gonna be the new verb, Rovo.
Yeah, rovoing it up. You'll find all our AI features will be powered by Rovo soon in the back end. And what that means is we can start to get it to use the third-party knowledge and first-party knowledge you've connected. And what that means is that tool, so work breakdown, is now a tool that will be available that an agent can use as well. So it's a tool we've given a human to be able to use, but that same tool needs to be given to the agent to be able to use. But one of our biggest learnings from that feature, as an example, we release it and guess what happens? Typical Jira feature. Every bit of feedback is, this is awesome. can I tweak the results just for my Jira project? And this other team, no, I want to tweak it a different way. And you're like, well, wait, tell me more. And you're like, in my team, we like to break things down at this level of fidelity, and we want to prefix all the tickets with this word. And this other team, they're like, hey, could I give it a Confluence spec, like a strategy document for our team, and say, when you break it down, try to use the same words and strategy docs from this Confluence page. And you're like, what have we learned there? Like, we've learned that, hey, guess what? Every team kind of takes the base level template and then tweaks it for their own use cases. So back to your question, Alex, sorry, what's the role for the Jira admin? There's so much work to do.
I'm getting overwhelmed with just the amount of stuff, because like your mindset's going to shift. You're still going to have a job. It's going to be a different job.
Yeah, if you ask me, what are the big skills would love people to shift and learn? I'm like, man, configuring, learning prompt engineering it's going to be a big skill. Configuring agents and deploying them into workflows and Confluence and Jira, massive skill, which is very complementary to their existing skill set of kind of solution architecting a business workflow for a team, right? You're just doing it with virtual teammates now. If that makes sense.
You got an army.
One of the things that I think is just so true here, and I mean, this is in large part sort of been the thesis of a lot of my belief about Atlassian administration and Jira administrators, is there's two parts to the job. There's managing the tool and there's managing the people. And when I say managing the people, what I mean is you are like in a very real way, what the best Jira administrators do is that they are the interface between the configuration of the tool and the configuration of the team, and they influence both. And so the best Jira administrators are going to get to spend more time helping the teams understand the best ways that they can work and supporting them in, like, I can imagine, and I mean, I'll use this word, but imagine what we were really talking about is somebody who is great at enabling teams to find the best ways to work, right? And I'm not going to say, maybe I won't use Scrum Master or Agile Coach, right? But the goal is that the teams are doing the best work of their lives and having a blast doing it. Mm-hmm. And the Jira admin has traditionally had to do a whole bunch of back-end work to help make that possible, to help match what happens in people's heads with what's happening in the tool. And now they're going to spend more time thinking about the people side than the tool side. Mm. They'll still have to think about the tool side, but it will be in such a more natural language and thought, like in a way like that. Like the interface will change.
I mean, we talk about this. The job of the Jira admin or Atlassian admin has already changed drastically just from 10 years ago. I mean, most of us were sysadmins primarily, and we had to help people with the front end and do all the business analysts and all the things we do now. But we also had to run a system on top of that.
Yeah, you guys can keep your Postgres database. I don't need that.
Oh my God,
it's not that bad.
Yeah, I
keep complaining. It's not that bad.
When you put drop table and you drop the users table.
somebody choosing to run Jira on Microsoft SQL Server. Why? And Windows. I know why it was supported, but my goodness.
I feel like this just turned into a counseling session. Anyone else want to share their
therapy?
But speaking of venting, so Sherif, speaking of venting, I want to ask you a question. I asked it to Mike, and I wanted to get your thoughts because I don't think Mike understood when I asked it to him. But there was a moment when you saw a demonstration of Rovo, and you said, "Wow, what was that moment like? Like, who came up with the idea of Rovo, and what is that first memory that you have of a demonstration?" And you're like, this is the future here. This is what we're doubling down on.
It's for me, it was Brendan Hare, who's an engineering manager at Atlassian. Jensen, I think you've had on the show. She's incredible. Marcus, Ari, Bruce, quite a few of these engineering leaders at Atlassian. Sorry, the names are popping in my head. They got a large language model and built used to be called, AI Mate was the old code name internally for Rovo. But they built a conversational AI front end and back end on top of the large language model. And then they plugged natural language to JQL and a couple of other features to it. And at that point, it was pretty obvious where this trajectory was headed. Like I remember seeing a demo from them going, even back then, like, I should dig up when someone will tell me when the first commit was made. It feels like probably 2 years ago when that happened. And that wasn't known as Rovo. It was just a back-end service that was built to serve some of the AI features we're building. But it was clear that this conversational experience, well, the way you interact with large language models is conversation. That's the interface to it, right? Whether you like it or not. We try to wrap specific features around that so that not everyone needs to know how to prompt, right? When you press summarize in Confluence, that's just a prompt that's going to the large language model and asking it to do something. When you do issue breakdown in Jira, it does the same thing. When you do natural language to SQL and Atlassian Analytics, it's the same thing, right? It's a bunch of prompts, instructions, tools, and knowledge. I think that was the pretty magical moment of seeing that going, wait a second, if this is possible with custom knowledge and business knowledge and respecting users' permissions, because don't forget, this already happened in the internet with chat GPTs of the world and Anthropics of the world, but none of that respects permissions. Like that's all just like, we index the internet and here's what we can suggest the next character is, right? We can't do that in an enterprise space, right? Like permissions is important and it's critical. And so that's why search is so important because search is actually what you'll see us invest a lot in search and why we were putting a lot of that. Every percentage gain we get in search relevance makes the AI look, 50% smarter, right? Because
you never more valuable.
You never heard people so happy to hear you say that Atlassian's investing so much more into search.
It's huge, yeah. We're
2 words: Confluence Search. That has been the bane of enterprise for years.
Like, I remember being the product manager on Confluence Search, going, "Look, we need to invest more, but that'll be a problem when Confluence gets big." Like I remember this as being 16 years ago. I'm like, we need more people to create content, and then we'll invest more. And I remember the days where we only searched. You remember this, Rodney? I'm sure we only searched the title. The exact match of the title. The old joke was if you didn't know the title of the page, you're in all sorts of trouble.
You remember? You remember? I have an email from you from 2007.
Oh, here we go. He was right. It's 2007 then. I thought it was 09.
Yeah, it was the release. It was the release of the Confluence 3 beta. Yeah, and I remember we used to tell people.
Did we do a Lucene upgrade in that Confluence 3 or something? Is that what made some search improvements there?
Maybe I have to. I think so.
Okay.
But like the chain. And I remember how hard it has always been to get people to really understand the power of Confluence and search because of these issues. Because at a very early stage, you get to the point where you cannot reasonably keep the structure of a Confluence site in your head.
Yeah.
And that's the moment that search becomes so important. And that happens like on your like 200th page. You're already there.
Yeah.
But will you be able to ask Confluence, like, why are we stuck, or just ask Rovo why is this project not making progress?
You could, and again, it depends on how well documented this project is, right?
But what about looking at like failed PRs, the number of bugs in the project?
Yeah, so you would this is where we need to get better with helping users with prompting, right? To do that today, you'd probably need to say, for this JQL, analyze these issues for me. For each issue, if the issue looks like it's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but a director's not, a CTO is not going to.
Correct. Right? It's too much, right? This is why I think prompt engineering is like a new skill. What we need to do is turn that into a set of features that the user doesn't know about. And then it works the way you described it, Alex, which is just tell me what's wrong with this project, right? So for us to answer that question, we need to build features that the user may not know about it, that kind of translates with users' intent to a set of subsequent prompts and searches and, pull some stuff from the Timo graph. When you say this project, do you mean the Atlassian project or do you mean the current Jira project you're working on?
Yeah, what project is this project?
Exactly, right? Like, and then when you say this, do you want, are you literally talking, what if you're in a Confluence space and you say this project? Like, you're like, it's not easy at all. But this is why we are investing crazy amounts in the graph and then in search. And so that, when you ask AI a question and get an answer, what that's doing is part of it's a search that respects your permissions. Part of it's taking that and using the Timo graph to then go, okay, what else is around here? Is there anything similar, linked, all kind of stuff? We now have semantic search and Confluence. Semantic search is coming very soon to Jira. I think we're about to announce that. Oh, early announcement just made. There you go.
Heard it here first.
So semantic search is a huge one because, like, I searched for bug and someone called it a issue, or I searched for language and someone called it,
or I said project and I really meant a Confluence space. How often does that happen?
So semantic search becomes very important to solve. It just means that customers don't need to know the exact words to find exactly what they're after, right? So you'll see massive changes to the Jira search experience soon. I'm sure you guys will give me an earful when it starts to roll out. But we've got a lot to do there as well with Jira.
How do you,
as much as Confluence?
How do you think? So I think about what Alex was saying, and a lot of that comes from the understanding, like why is this project, like what's wrong? Why are we stuck? A lot of that comes from what can the models infer about the training data that they've had across all of the software development projects that have ever happened that they had access to at some point. Like, and where that comes from, obviously, is these giant world models. And there's a lot of discussion happening around world models, obviously, and how they got built and all of that stuff. One of the things that I'm really interested in is, like, how does Atlassian think about, like, how reliant is Atlassian on the capabilities of world models in what they know about the world, and how that helps Rovo and Atlassian Intelligence today, and how quickly is that changing to we've got a clarity based on just the stuff that we know about, that we've built from the teamwork graph and such, that we can do this even if something happened tomorrow to world models?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, I'll give you the non-scientific answer, because you would need to pull in I think, how reliant are we on it? We're reliant as much as, one, it helps just decipher natural language intent. That's good. Then we add layers on top of it that add context and nuance. So the layer is like the search data that you've connected to your app, right? Another layer is we have a social signals layer, right? So if you shared a page with me, Brian, and I'm asking something, but I may not have said that page seen that page yet or whatever, we'll use that to boost that in the AI results, right? Or if it knows that I work with you and you've done something else, it'll pull that in closer in the circle. So there's a bunch of social signals, or we like to call them collaboration signals, that are available there as well. Then you've got the teamwork graph layer, which is just all the linked objects. So this issue is linked to this page, which is linked to this pull request, which is now connected to this Salesforce record or whatever it is for Atlassian and non-Atlassian data. So the dev connected in as well. So we add these multiple layers on top of the base model to provide the customer and the user's context to try to make that a lot better. So how reliant is it? I don't know how to answer it. Like, it's a scale or a slider,
Right.
But it's safe to say that, like, the bulk of the heavy lifting, like, models have changed what's possible for everyone, and I think that's what they've done. So that's a lot of the stuff there, but doing it for dozens of SaaS apps with respecting permissions, building the teamwork graph is massive team working on this graph. Search relevance team's huge. I look at search relevance reports every day now because they're such a critical part of our AI success.
I never thought that was going to be part of your job.
I'm glad somebody's looking at it, because it's frustrating when you ask it something, you're like, what the hell?
Like an agent I can't live without. So we have one agent I've set up is when you do in-app feedback for Rovo, you give us thumbs up, thumbs down, you give us some feedback that goes through everything goes through a Jira ticket, typical Atlassian. So we have an agent that analyzes that information with an automation rule on a regular basis, produces a report, notifies me in Slack on the trends, on what's going on. Are we seeing feedback from last week? Has it gone up in relevance or down, and all that kind of stuff? And what are people complaining about? What are people saying it's good for, etc. That's stuff that we would put someone on hours analyzing hundreds of tickets each week to do. That's now an agent that does that with the knowledge and the context that's connected, thanks to these large language models and automation, and it does that on a regular basis for us.
Is the incredible sort of ramp up in feature delivery from Atlassian over the past several years, like, is that strongly attributable to the adoption of AI internally? Like, have you guys just seen massive improvements in the ability to get stuff done?
I would love to get you, Tarun, who runs our product engineering, could probably give us a better number on percentage of engineers using AI-generated code.
We'll have Angela talk to them.
Oh, right. It's growing a lot. I do know. I can't tell you the numbers off my head, but I would generally say yes. Like how much I can answer that by craft is different. So, for example, I'm just running a post actually on what we've learned from our 450 odd product managers at Atlassian on their AI usage, right? So we survey them regularly. We see what tools they use. We do deeper research with them. Most of them are telling us 90% are using AI on a monthly basis. 70% are using it on a weekly basis. And then I'm kind of telling you my draft blog post right now in my head. And then we're like, so where are you saving time? They're like, I'm probably saving 40 minutes a day on some days because of the meetings and the summary. Like a lot of them do customer research, right? They sit in a call like this with a customer. Then they analyze the transcript. They write the customer meeting notes. They share it with the team. They go raise tickets from the meeting notes in the backlog or change things around. AI is, for 1 hour interview, that usually took another hour or 2 hours of summary, write-up, sharing, findings, insights. And now it's compressed to like 30 minutes, right? So within product management, I'm seeing a massive compression of time. So just PMs are just able to do more, right? Without the example I just gave you of analyzing, we get hundreds of feedback items of Rovo on a regular basis. We used to have product managers full time analyzing them because you get the quantity is huge, right? I just want to get you guys know Jack Jira.Atlassian.com. That's still a DC instance.
Yeah,
I want to get that on a cloud instance so we can run Rovo through.
About to ask you this question.
Yeah, because we have thousands of comments on Jack.
Yeah, the 21-year-olds in there.
Yeah, I think I've got someone now as a customer. I think this is the double-edged sword of open company.
You guys just released the DC Rovo connector.
Correct. It pulls the data. No, it's not. The Jira one isn't released yet. The Confluence one's released. The Jira one's in progress. Is that new news as well? No, I think we've
that wasn't out the team. I mean, the relative which ones are out or not is new, but the
Jira one is
in
flight, in work. I can't. My weekly ritual Monday morning is I spend used to be an hour, now it's 2 hours reading hundreds of Atlas tickets. It's game changing for me because that's how I stay across hundreds of teams working on AI, right?
Right.
So the Jira one's in flight, and hopefully Team EU, hopefully we can get some good news for you guys. But
we'll be there. I'm assuming you're going to be there because
we'll be there.
We're all going to be there.
Yeah.
Reunion.
So I have one last question, not about Rovo, but especially a team, but in general, we see all these great statistics come out of Atlassian, like Loom saved us 1 million meetings.
Now year. People are looking at that every day.
Or stats like that. I've always wondered, how does Atlassian get these stats?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you some specifics on what we do for Rovo. The Loom one, I'll have to check with the Loom team on that one. But
I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
That was stuck in my head. But Rovo has these stats. Every product has these stats. I've always wondered, who is the statistician at Atlassian that's going through and figure out all this stuff?
It's a virtual teammate.
Again, the answer will probably depend on which feature you pick. But let me use the Rovo one because we get the last data we had was 40 minutes a week saved with Rovo and Atlassian Intelligence. And so the way that we have a research team that's a teamwork research team. So they do a mix of qualitative and quantitative research. The qualitative typically is in surveys with a concentrated set of customer users, like a cohort where they talk to those users regularly and ask them to fill out, last month you said this month, where are you at? Like, has it gone better or worse or whatever? And then quantitatively might depend on the capability they're trying to measure. For example, page summaries is a very simple, as a proxy, you're like, hey, the page was 7 minutes long. We gave it to you in 4 paragraphs. You can kind of get a proxy of like how much time you actually saved there. And then you can actually work out, did the person dwell on that page for that long or not? So you can actually work out like, hey, they hit the summary and then they left the page. They hit the summary, they still stayed on the page for another 7 minutes. You're like, okay, the summary worked, but it didn't actually make it useful for them, right? Like, as in they still, or maybe it did, but they wanted to read more. We don't know we don't know the user's intent, right? So it's a mix of those qualitative and quantitative signals that come up with those numbers. And then they make sure it's like statistically significant, and they're always like serving, crazy amount of customers and users for all that stuff. And that's typically what happens.
Do you think so? One of the things that we've seen with like a company like Apple, which is that they've, especially around ML specifically, they have so much. They're publishing so much more research outward to the world as a company who is notoriously secret about product development, right? And it's been really fascinating because you get to learn things from a company that is doing this and that you have high trust in, right? And I'm wondering if we're ever going to see Atlassian publish research papers more, or at least like trumpet that research papers are being published by Atlassian researchers, because I think part of the thing that I get from what Rodney asked about sometimes the Loom thing is like, literally we go to try to sell Loom to somebody and then they ask us the same damn thing. And we're like, well, let us show you how you can calculate this for yourself so that we can prove the cost of this or the value of this thing that we want to bring to the company.
Yeah, the Google, the distributed work report from Atlassian, that's probably the biggest, most recent one where, again, the goal here is to give those decision makers quantitative data on how Loom is helping distributed teams be more productive in that specific example. Distributed work.
But I want scientific papers from Atlassian researchers.
This is from our research team, so I'll let you have a read of it. It's a fairly 1,000-day from 1,000-day distributed research. It's a fairly big PDF file.
This was like the 1,000-day. Yes, absolutely.
Correct, the 1,000-day research project. Yeah, there's a few of these. I can't give you the full list, but the Teamwork Lab is doing a lot of stuff there. On that stuff, but I'm sure we can always do more in that area.
We can maybe put it big on the website somewhere.
Big up.
Well, Sherif, thank you so much for joining us. We don't want you to be too late to your next call.
Thank you all. We'll just have to make sure it's not another year and a half, right? I mean, a year and 2 months.
I know, right?
Year and 2 months.
Yep.
And happy Juneteenth to everyone.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you. Well, it's June 20th for him now. So,
that's true. You, happy day after Juneteenth.
See you, folks. Thanks for the chat.
Bye.
All right, take care.
Hey. And as we always say, we didn't choose the Jira Life. Jira Life chose us. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, Rodney, the Jira guy Nissen, and Sarah, #IBelieveSarah, Wright. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lina Ortiz. You can catch us as we record this podcast live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. Be sure to join us and the other Jiramigos of the Peanut Gallery each week to ask questions, add your comments, and tell us what you're up to. If you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. You can also find us as a podcast on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you think this podcast deserves a rating, it would be much appreciated, as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us. Thank you to Revyz for backing us up and making the Jira Life possible.